Good evening, good people. Welcome to another episode of Speak with Dilys. It is great to be back. Apologies that I couldn't be on last week. There was so much going on. And, I was in Ghana and the connection was not quite connecting. And I just thought, you know what? I have to give my people more than that. So I am back this week, back in sunny England. But it's good to be back. It's always lovely to be back on the show. So let's go through the boring bits, which is for me to introduce myself to those of you who may not know me or catch us on the replay. My name is Dilys. I am the host of this show, Speak with Dilys, which essentially is a show that I decided to put together to ensure that we are able to have a safe space to have conversations that are usually quite difficult, and to be in a space that is respectful, supportive, kind, and compassionate, which is what you guys always are. And I'm very appreciative of that because you make this show what it is. So well done to all of you. I am also, there's a few things that have happened to me actually, so I'm quite excited to share. So I am also the best-selling author of the book, Not This Widow, and my first book called Predator or Print, How to Find the Man of Your Dreams, Not Your Nightmares. And contrary to what you may think, it is not 10 steps to bag yourself a fine dude. It is really a book that is quite serious, that helps women to spot red flags in men who may be abusive in any way. I'm also a minister in New Glory Ministry, and I love being a minister. So if you would ever like to join us on a Sunday, we're based in Romford in E6. So do let me know and I shall send you the details. And what else do? I have now been made a patron of a school called Fountain of Youth International School in Ghana, which for me, at this moment in time, is something that I am extremely happy about. I am also an accredited and qualified life coach in the areas that I work or specialize in, particularly marriage, relationship, trauma. Most of what you will hear us speak about on this show are areas in which I work. I do free consultations, so do hit me up if you need to have a conversation with me. So they are what I would call the boring bits that are out of the way. At some point, you may see me looking on my phone, not because I'm checking my WhatsApp messages, but there's something that I would like to read at some point. So I have got two really wonderful women on here. And let me introduce them to you. So I will go and introduce the first one. And let me see, can I even see? Well, I'll tell you what, if you see me struggling with my phone, aside from the fact that my eyesight's a bit rubbish, I dropped my phone and the screen is cracked. So if you see me squinting like this, it's not because I'm over 40 and my eyesight is waning, it's just that I can't see. But if you're on here, guys, please do share. Share, let me know that you shared, and let me know where you're watching from. It's a very important conversation that we're going to be having this evening. So, the more the merrier. So I am going to first introduce to you Petra Vasilieva. Petra is really weird because this is why this world is so small. But anyway, I'll tell you that story later. But let me just tell you who Petra is. So Petra is a qualified and professional coach and enjoys working with people to bring out the very best versions of themselves. Highly qualified. She's excellent at what she does. Petra's own journey at the age of 48 has begun and has been embraced as a life transitioning phase and not a final destination. Petra describes her journey thus far as honoring the premenopausal life and facing it head on. She will share her experience as well as the life lessons that the premenopausal journey has taught her thus far. And we will have an important conversation on the menopause with her. The other guest that I have, who is eagerly awaiting to come on, one second. Whoops, just mute that mic there. Yes, is Judy Oyuyo Sotan. I hope I have pronounced your name properly. So Judy runs an international nonprofit organization. She works full-time as well as running an African jewelry and artifacts business. She started her premenopausal journey at the age of 49 while on an evangelism trip to Kenya in November 2019. She initially thought that she and her husband were expecting a child and excitedly called her husband in the US to inform him, but the change had actually begun. Judy shares her story of pain from the physical to the matrimonial, spiritual and beyond, to uplift others through her faith and her experience. So as you can see, I have got two wonderful women who are going to be having this conversation with me this evening. And it is a conversation. I haven't called medical experts to come on here because we are the experts of our own bodies. And the fact of the matter is, I personally feel that the medical experts have not done us enough justice in preparing women for this journey. So guys, if you have jumped on here, let me know where you're watching from and the fact that you have shared this broadcast. And also, as we do traditionally, let me know how you guys are feeling. So I can actually get onto my Facebook. So I will check and see that you are showing me some love. So let me go onto my fan page on my phone and let me see by the hearts that you are sharing or not, whether you're feeling good this evening. How are you guys feeling? Are you feeling good? Are you excited about this conversation? Because I'm seeing here. Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Petra. I'm sure that, oh, Shirley Ann, thank you for putting your name in there, because for some reason on here, it just comes up as Facebook user. Monica, thank you for joining and for sharing to your group, Live the Life You Love. I appreciate that immensely. And Nina is on here. We're in the car with Ben and listening. Thank you very much. Diane, thank you for joining as well. Yemisi, how are you doing? Tasha, it's lovely to have you guys on here. Please do share. Curly is watching from Birmingham. That's excellent. Thank you for being on here. And I don't believe I've seen your name before, so welcome. And it is great to have you on here. So my guess, if you are ready, I will bring you on now to have your full attention whilst we have this conversation that is really, quite important. So we are going to be speaking about the menopause tonight. It's the second part of The Forgotten Woman. And the reason why I named it The Forgotten Woman is because I do believe that we women are forgotten. And I think it comes down to this societal thing that says a woman after a certain age has lost her relevance. And I think that's the only reason why I think we don't talk about the menopause enough. We don't teach teenagers about the menopause in school. We teach them about, reproductive health to a degree. We teach about, abortion. We teach about reproduction and all of that, but nobody really talks about the menopause in any great detail. So for me, the first I knew of it, as I've mentioned many, many times, I'm sure you're bored of hearing me say this, I didn't really know about the menopause until well into my 40s. And I don't profess to know that much now. And now I'm in my 50s. So there you go. So guys, please do share as you jump on. And for those watching on Facebook, you will see an icon there that has where it says, actually, no, it's changed. It says give stars. So the stars button is really for you to be able to give a monetary gift for people like myself who give content to encourage, uplift, educate, however it is that you receive what it is that you watch on my show. But what it does is it helps pay for this platform to do sponsored ads. And it just helps make my life a bit easier. I am fully committed to being here every Sunday. Today is a 2-hour special. So, we're on it. And if you can support by giving stars, it will be very much appreciated. So I'm going to call my guests on. So I'm going to have Judy, I'm unmuting your mic, and I'm going to have you come on now.
Okay.
And I've got Petra as well. Now let's see the best way to do this.
Oh, nice.
I think that's better.
Yes.
I think that's much better. So ladies, how are you doing this Sunday evening?
Excellent. Excellent. Yes.
Oh, I think, yeah, Petra, your mic's unmuted now. How are you doing, Petra?
Hi, everyone. Hi, Dilys. Hi, Judy.
Hi, Petra.
I'm great, and I'm actually quite excited about this conversation. I'm looking forward to it. I tried to make, to prepare myself, but then I said I will actually speak to what comes up, because my journey was really it was interesting for me to go through this journey. I also didn't know much about this until I was well into that. And I also want to say that, Dilys, I watched the previous episode where you spoke about it, and you spoke a lot about it, and you've done really great research.
Thank you.
Anyone who hasn't watched it, if you haven't watched the previous episode, when we finish, please go back and watch it, because Dilys has done a really great preparation, and she has explained a lot about that.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. You see, a lot of what I discuss on here are things that I hear people talking about. Sometimes it may be something personal, but many a time they're conversations that I hear, whether it's on social media or, you know, as like myself, you work as a coach. So there are conversations that go on that you are kind of just introduced into, whether you want to be a part of it or not. And I think it was a show that, I think it was the second episode of Speak with Dilys, series 6, where we were speaking about something completely unrelated. And the question of the menopause came up, and everybody started, you know, giving all these comments. And I thought, you know what? I think it's time for us to have this conversation.
Yes.
We have to make this normal.
Mm-hmm.
Society has done us women an injustice. Women have done other women an injustice by writing each other off because of our looks, because of our marital status, whether we are able to have kids or had kids, whether, you know, we're slim, fat, tall, whatever it is, there always seems to be a box that we are placed in and are demanded to function from that box for the benefit of others as opposed to ourselves. So I find that as a woman, personally, I feel that too often we're an afterthought. It's like, oh yeah, let's do this. And it's wrong. And I think for us to be able to come out of this space, we need to be our own advocates. Yes. We need to make our own noise, because waiting for someone else to do it, it ain't happening.
I agree with you, Dilys, because for me, like you said, and when you introduced me, hello, everybody, welcome. I'm here in Houston, Texas. It's sunny. It's not.
I'm not jealous.
Like 90. You're in Dallas?
No, I said I'm not jealous, but go on.
Oh, yeah, I know it's hot. God, I think 89 degrees. It's not 90, it's humid. But I thank God for this, Dilys, and you putting up together. And when I saw your post, we are together in our group together. I think I'm the only Kenyan in that group among Ghanaians. But I love your energy, and I love the topics you bring, because they really make a difference to people. Because really, when I went through what I was going through, I thought I was pregnant, really. That was back in November 2020. And I hurriedly called my husband, 2019. I say, hey, by the way, I think we are pregnant. We are pregnant. I was excited because when I look at my stomach, even if you look at my stomach, there's a little, there's a little protrusion. Turns out I wasn't, but it was actually perimenopause. Now, perimenopause mimics pregnancy. I had bouts of having nausea. I had bouts of morning sickness. I had bouts, no, not morning sickness, but huge appetite. And then my protrusion in the stomach, and then my menstrual cycle had kind of disappeared, like for 2 months. I remember even before I left to go to Kenya, my husband told me, Judy, are you sure? I said, baby, I've not had my menstrual cycle in 2 months. That was September. So he said, before I allow you to go to Kenya, please check, make sure we had a pregnancy kit at home. Make sure you do a home kit pregnancy test, which we did. It was negative. So when I went to Kenya, I'm like, this still hasn't happened, but my stomach when I look at my stomach, it's swollen. And I have this nausea, and then I have this huge appetite. What is going on? And then my breasts are becoming very itchy, like my nipples. So I'm like, when I do look the research for pregnancy symptoms, I'm like, I am pregnant. They're the same symptoms. Then something told me, and I guess the Spirit of God, I'm a woman of God, I'm born again, I'm an evangelist. Something told me, maybe it's menopause. I'm like, menopause at 49? So I did research, and then it's perimenopause. So what happened after that? After that light bulb came on, when just before I came back to America, this was now Thanksgiving Day, sometime in November anyway, 2019, I started bleeding, and I bled for 5 months straight, every day for 5 months until March. But what ended up doing, the doctor had to, and in America, I don't know, you guys, Petra, are you in the UK? Are you in the UK?
Yes, I'm in London.
So in America, you can't just walk into the doctor's clinic just like that. It's really for specialized care. you pretty much need an appointment. But at that time, November, there was no appointment open until the following year. So I had to wait for about 3 months bleeding. And I would call, I'm scared, I'm seeing clots and clots of blood. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? I thought I'm dying. But turns out it was perimenopause. So what they had to do was they did an ultrasound, and every 3 months I'll do a biopsy. So I'm thanking you, and I want to share my story. I want to share my testimony. Now I'm okay now, but as we go on, more will unfold. But thank you, Dilys, for doing this, because more women need to be aware, and our husbands also need to be tuned into this. Our lovers, our husbands, our sons, our fathers, because when your woman is going through this, you really need to be by her side. It's not anything she did to herself. It's part of life. It's a life cycle that we all women go through, but nobody tells you. And I think for sometimes it's for Black people, it's worse, especially for fibers and Hispanics. But I'll come to that later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Judy, for that. And listening to it, for me, it's painful because I'm thinking, going through that period of joy, oh, I'm going to have a baby. And you share that with your husband, and only for it to be nothing, actually something that isn't typically to be celebrated, and that must have been difficult. But we're going to go more into how that felt and the impact. And you raise a very important point, and that is the men need to be involved because they need to know what we go through. It's very important that the awareness is across genders. It's not just a woman's problem. It's not. And it's important that we start to include men into conversation. This is why I get very apprehensive when we put everybody in a melting pot and saying we are all the same. There is a difference. There is a difference between men and women. And as a woman, I find it quite insulting and very, what's the word? Like you're canceling our experience by saying you're no different from X, Y, or Z. We are different. And I make no apologies for it. And I've said to people, if you're looking for political correctness, this is not the show for you. I deal with real life, real people, real situations, real problems. So I have to deal with women like myself who are going through this experience and create that space. And if this space is not for you, go create a space. But this space is for us to deal with issues where, we need to find some answers and some support. So on that note, Petra, I would like to invite you on to talk a little bit about your journey and where you find yourself now. Guys, if you're watching this, please do share. I haven't seen a lot of shares on here. I've seen 3. There's a few of us watching now. This is a very important conversation. So do share. Call your daughters to have this convo with them. I spoke to my daughter who only turned 16 on Thursday about the menopause. It is important. Listen, knowledge is power. So let's get more people involved, more people having this conversation, and get your husbands and boyfriends, because as Judy just shared, bleeding for 5 months continuously as a wife, it's important that your husband know what the hell is going on with you, because in those 5 months, I'm sure your husband, wanted his things.
You didn't have sex.
You understand? He
Yes.
wanted to, So what do you do? So let's not be naive or flippant about this, because this is something that really does impact people. But Petra, we'll go into that in a minute. I would like to hear your side of the story.
Okay, so for me, I'm 48 at the moment, and it has been quite difficult in the last 3 years. However, knowing what I know now, I think that actually the perimenopause itself had started around the age of 43, I think. And it was so subtle that I didn't realize that it was this, because I thought that I need to think about that later when my period starts skipping around the age of 50, 51, because that's what I knew about the menopause. And that it gets a bit difficult before that. However, I didn't really expect that it was so early. And I was a workaholic. And at the end of 2019, I ended a contract. I had quite a stressful job, and I kind of crashed with chronic fatigue. And I had to look at my health properly. And it was then when I started working with my GP, she said that you are actually perimenopausal. And I said, I'm not perimenopausal. I have my period. Although I did have when I had a stressful period, I ended up a stressful job. I decided to end the contract. And then I had problems with my period for a few months. And I thought that was just because I was going through this stressful period. And my period came back. And because it was regular every month, it didn't cross my mind that it might be this until my GP started paying attention to me and telling me to check things. And we had to look at my fatigue. And actually, we were dealing with a lot that was going on for me at the moment. Until I came to realize that actually everything was blended, and so I had to deal with several things at the same time. I had to do blood tests twice, and only then the bloods showed that my hormones weren't in the normal range, and I started researching. And what turns out is actually, for me, it's the hormone, because the hormones vary and I don't have this stable cycle. Like normally when the period is about 28 days, I would have like a stable cycle after the period, the down period, then ovulation, and then things going up, and the cycle would be rolling. While now this isn't happening, and there are a lot of ups and downs, and all of those varying symptoms that accompany the whole journey. And it's different for every woman. However, I really like what Dilys, you say that we have to speak about that, because before I would hear at work women talking about being perimenopausal at work and that it's really difficult. However, I didn't know what it meant because I actually had to stop working. I just had to stop working and to look at my life and to say, okay, it's obvious that I have to do a proper reset in my life and to honor this phase as a proper phase in my life. Other than the fact that I was really scared about what I was going through, there was some grieving involved. It was like literally like mourning of my femininity. All of a sudden I felt my femininity was lost. And I started thinking about what are all of those things that I wanted to do in my life, and I postponed and I never did them. And then there was so much that I actually wanted to experience as a woman, and it felt like the end was coming. And so there was depression, there was anxiety. I will keep mentioning later as we go in the conversation, but I think it's so important, like you, Dilys, mentioned in the previous episode, about employers actually need to know. They need to know what is going on, because I can't imagine that I would be going and working somewhere full time going through this. It wasn't possible. And I heard a lot of stories of women who had to stop working, other women closing their businesses because they just couldn't cope with what was going on with them.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I look back and I know I keep going on about the level of my ignorance of this whole, even the phrase perimenopausal.
Yes.
I only heard about that phrase recently. I am 51 years of age. I had never heard of it. I only knew about the menopause, and all I knew is that your periods stop. And then it means you've gone through the menopause, like it was just some magic. Nobody thought to break it down and say there is a phase before. It can mimic pregnancy, though you can still get pregnant, but you know, there's just so much information that we don't have. And I think the issue that I brought up about employers was, I looked back and somewhere in my subconscious I remembered all those times. I don't do extremes in terms of weather. Whether it's really hot or really cold, I don't like either. So in the winter, when you're sitting in an office and you're freezing because the heating system is poor, and you've got this woman that opens the window and is going like that, you're thinking, you selfish cow, I'm freezing, close the bloody window. That poor woman has been shamed into, being on the receiving end of ageism and all sorts of nonsense, because that's the society that we have for women. and therefore doesn't feel confident enough to say, I'm going through the menopause, so I need that damn window open. She just has to sit there embarrassed at the fact that everybody's tutting and rolling their eyes and being funny at the fact that she has to open the window. She can't tell you that from her feet going up to her head, she feels like she's on fire. And it's wrong. And I look back and I think, if only I had known, I would have been a lot kinder. I would have been a lot more tolerant. I wouldn't have been thinking about myself. I'd have grabbed one of these and wrapped it around myself if I was that cold, as opposed to thinking, oh, she's really selfish. Why can't she just take her top off or something? You know, so the education really is important. And that's just for the physical side of things. Like you mentioned, the mental health, the stress, the inability to be able to function at optimum level because of what you're going through. Employers need to know that, as opposed to saying, oh, right, you've hit your marker for 5 days being sick, so now we're going to take you through a disciplinary procedure because you're not being at work. It's absolute nonsense, you know. So we have to, you know, open up the conversation more.
Yes.
And more intention, you know, employers need to be more intentional.
Yes.
And say that I have a workforce of women who are between this age and that age, and we will be proactive in educating those women to say, this is what is like. Look, if we can do it with COVID, and we can do it with SARS, and we can do it with whatever, why are we not doing that with the menopause? Why are we not seeing billboards around saying, oh, what age did your mother go through the menopause? Did you know that that may be an indicator of when you may go through the menopause? What age are you thinking of having your children? Why are we not being given this information? It's not good.
Dilys, I love what you said. I love what you said about the employer. I can tell you guys, and I'm not ashamed to say this. My employer gave me a written first warning this last week, Tuesday. I was so upset. They say that I take too many breaks to go to the restroom. You're probably only meant to go twice, one in the AM, one in the PM. How is that possible? And the kind of job I do donor fundraising. I'm always on the phone, and I always have water by me.
Yeah.
If it's not here, then I have like many bottles behind me.
Yeah.
I have to drink water, but also when you have fibers, you're perimenopausal, the fibers press and the cysts press on the bladder.
Yeah.
I have to go to the restroom. Are you kidding me? I like what you say, that employers need to become more talk about these things. If they can remember at the beginning, women could not breastfeed at work. But in America, especially, what they had to do was to open feeding stations at their workplaces for mothers who are lactating. They would go pump their breasts, put their breasts in a bottle, and then take that home, put in the fridge. Then when they're going home, take it. Because if they don't, their breasts are going to be painful. They have milk in, they're lactating. So the mammary glands will hurt. The same thing needs to happen. If I'm hot on this, I'm telling you, I have fibers. I'm telling you this. Understand and work with me. Don't give me a freaking warning letter for what? For taking a bodily function? Do you want me to tell you what I'm going? And that can be very explicit. And I had to tell them this is not fair.
Yeah,
so
I
was forced to get a doctor's letter so to come, and then they told me anytime you want to go to the restroom, take a restroom break, log off. Then I have to work.
So demeaning. That's just so.
It is. If anything happened to me and I drop dead, God forbid, I'm not dying, but they'll get the next person. They really do not care. For them, it's all about making the money. So for me, whenever I'm not well, sometimes these things are pressing. The fibers are shrinking right now. When they are shrinking, I'm in pain. It's just one side of my abdomen. I'm like, what? I'm sorry. And I don't care if I don't make it up or not. I'm logging off and I tell them, look, I gotta go. I am very vocal, and I think it takes people like you and I and Petra to be vocal about what you're going through so you can help other women. Because listen, if those women who never spoke about breastfeeding at work, most of us, I don't have a child, but imagine women who are breastfeeding, they're not able to take their children, or they not have a daycare, childcare at work, or be given maternal leave for that instance, or even when you're in your periods. Come on, are you kidding me? So men, especially, and women need to be sensitive, because if I'm your 40, you think, this won't happen to me. Guess what? It could happen to you when you're 30, 40, or 50.
Yeah, it can. Yeah.
So don't think that you are far removed from what Judy is going through, or what Dilys is going through, or what Petra is going through. Be sensitive as women. So if you're in HR or you're a supervisor somewhere, be sensitive to what a woman is going through, a fellow woman like you. It is not fair. And our husbands also need to take part in this get involved, because my husband used to blame me, said it's something I did to myself. And you tell me, if you don't want to make love to me, I'm gonna get another. My husband is Nigerian, a Yoruba woman. I said, what?
Yeah.
You need to understand what's going on with me. And I would tell my dad died last year, but I tell Daddy, can you imagine what so-and-so is saying? He was saying this. I'm like, Judy, one of my sisters said, if you want to know how a man treats his wife, when she's not well, look at how he treats his wife.
That's true. That is true.
So our husbands, if you're here, our lovers, our boyfriends, whatever you are to us, please be sensitive to your woman. You think when she's on period pain, that's something? Wait until she's perimenopausal. Petra said the hormones, they go whack. My estrogen level had gone up. Progesterone had gone low. Now, because of all these things happening, my uterus wall had thickened, the lining had thickened. That's what was causing the bleeding. So it's also good to know your body, talk to your doctor, know what's going on with you. There are different phases. Mine manifested by me having bleeding for 5 months. For some of this might be something different. But what they had to do for treatment, they had to put an IUD in me. I have an IUD in me right now. If they didn't put that, I could have bled out to death. I became anemic. So I had to put him on iron tablets. And eventually it made my blood pressure go up. So now I'm on BP meds. I've always eaten healthy. I've always eaten with garlic and ginger. And every morning I drink, I can't show you now, but I drink a hibiscus tea, a smoothie, and I make it very healthy. I put anti-inflammatory. I put all these antioxidants in it. Because if we don't use diet and health care, like your employer tells you, Judy, you can't, forget it. I'm going to take my time off because it's about me being well. If I'm not well, I'll not be able to work for you. So put yourself first, take care of your health, because when you're well, then you can take care of your job and your husband and your children. But they also need to take care of you. But let's use strategies of wellness, wholeness to treat ourselves. This week, Tuesday, I was supposed to, when the 11th, they wanted to have a hysterectomy. I said, I started drinking a tea. I'm going to get up and show you the tea. I'm taking herbal green tea. Some Nigerians supposed to me. Those things are what we need to do. Don't take medication. Don't go under the knife, because if they remove my uterus, then what?
Yeah. And actually, it makes it worse. From what I understand, it actually
what else will it open up? What else? A plethora of complications and pain and medications. I don't want that. So let's take care of ourselves.
I think,
Let me get the tea while you talk. Sorry, let me get the tea. Go get that
tea. No, you raise a lot of important points. We've spoken, we've mentioned before about husbands and boyfriends, whatever, being sensitive and being aware. You see, with the employers, I do believe that there is a quick win here. All it requires is for a group of women to get together and say, this is what we need from you. It's ludicrous that somebody will say, right, I want to check how many times you go and pee and how many times you go and poo or change your sanitary towel because I'm paying you. It's demeaning. And these are some of the things where we have to put our foot down and say, this should not be allowed to happen in the workplace. There are women that have very heavy periods, and during their time of menstruation, they're in the toilets many times a day. How can you then say to somebody that you have to log off every time you do that for me to know that, oh, she's having a bit of a wee, or it's just not right. But
I also think that it is important for us to actually communicate what is going on for us in a way that actually honors our experience, because quite often other people wouldn't really know what we are going through if we don't tell them. And from what I hear from women, I personally am lucky that I've been in environments where people have been treated respectfully. And when I heard about women talking about their perimenopause at work or menopause, they were actually sharing their own personal experience. But the cases that I've heard about, women have been lucky that they haven't been treated badly. However, they just have to cope with needing to work, going to work full time, and then dealing with everything that's going on for them. And for me, I quite like that, Dilys, you mentioned that at a societal level, because I think the problem goes quite far away at the time when women started working full time, because women used to stay at home and raise children. And there came a moment when women started working full-time together with the men. And actually, the state needs us to go to work and pay taxes. And every woman's journey is so individual that some women have a very easy perimenopause and menopause. Other women have difficult experiences. And I agree with you, Dilys. The thing that you mentioned in the previous period about even the health system not addressing these challenges properly. And I think it can be looked at a really high level why that's not being spoken about, because the individual employers, each environment can be different, and in some places employers will be stricter than in other places. However, having gone through what I have gone through, I believe that actually there should be things that maybe the laws can be tweaked in such a way to allow individual what am I trying to say?
For there to be like a standard, a basic standard or code of conduct for employers in the workplace in regards to this particular issue. I think that is essentially what needs to happen. And like I said, we have to be our own advocates.
Yes.
People are not going to just somehow come to our rescue. Those days are over. Yes. We have to be our own advocates. And therefore, someone that seems to be spamming this page, if I've got any of my admins on here, if we could just, if they carry on, I'm going to have to just block them. Yeah, so, we have to become our own advocates. And you're right, it may be an idea to actually start lobbying and saying this is an area of employment that needs to be looked at, where we need to be protected. Just like when, they realized that racism really wasn't just a figment of our imagination, and in the workplace you couldn't do that. Or the fact that discrimination of a particular kind wasn't on, and therefore there were employment, there were clauses within employment law that protected people. I do believe that women of a particular age should not be excluded from that protection, because like you're saying, they need to go back to work to pay taxes.
Yeah, I mean, you have bills to pay. What are you going to do? I mean, am I going to miss work? It's not my fault. It's just something we all go through, because you also are going to go through it. So it's very unfair to kind of punish
discriminate.
The
word
discriminate.
It's discriminate. You are discriminating. And when we're saying that we were not, it's interesting, because in England we have these buzzwords and these buzz phrases. We do not discriminate on the grounds of race, gender, religious belief, and age is in there. But the fact is, we do discriminate on the basis of age if you're a woman. Men don't go through the menopause. The worst that men go through is a midlife crisis where, you might want to go out and trade your wife in for a younger model. And that is the height of your issues. But with a woman, we are going through
physical
things, mental things, emotional things that we have no control over. Let me just say hi to a few people that jumped on here. Renata, thank you for being on here. Tasha is watching. And Akustia Dodd, Evans, thank you for being on here as well. And Lynette and Kukua Ferguson. Adele, how are you doing? I have somebody on here called sexfine.pro. So if you're watching, I hope you are enjoying. Guys, I know quite a few of you have shared, so I'm going to check on here. I've had 19 shares thus far. Guys, a lot more of you should be on here watching this with your partners and with your babies and with your sons. And you see, again, the reason why this is so important
and your daughters
is because the menopause doesn't just affect older women. There are women who go through early menopause, and for them it must be devastating, especially if they haven't had children and have always wanted children, and all of a sudden find themselves in this cycle of something that they have no control over. So, it's something that the effects of the menopause are so profound.
Yeah.
They're so profound. It has far more, far-reaching repercussions, for want of a better expression, by virtue of the fact that you're just going through it, regardless of your age. I mean, I'm 51, and it's funny, again, going back, and I said I'd explain something to you, I'd mention something, going back to the comment I made about women having to be our own advocates and stop canceling each other just because of age. A younger woman will throw age at an older woman as some kind of an insult. It's stupidity and it's foolishness. Someone did it to me the other day. There was a picture of Ashanti, Ashanti and Ja Rule, the duo, the singers, rapper and singer. And it was her birthday a couple of days ago. She looks fantastic. And she's there in her little bikini top with her belly button out on show and, fantastic body. Yeah. And there was this whole debate on whether she'd had surgery done or whether she had or she hadn't. And someone said, oh, looking at her belly button, she must have had surgery. And I said, but I'm 51. My belly button looks exactly the same and I haven't had any surgery. This little rat pops up and she goes, you look 51. And I said, so?
No, you don't.
But my point was, even if I did look 51, so what?
Yeah.
What's so bad about looking 51?
Correct.
So then this idiot then goes on to say, well, the fact that you took it as a negative it just shows your self-esteem. I had to take the girl to school. And I said, let me tell you something. I took it as you intended, and it was for you to be nasty. But let me tell you something about a woman's self-esteem. If my self-esteem is down here and you have recognized it, then it's incumbent on you, if you're a decent human being, to raise my self-esteem.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not for you to tear me to bits. Oh, I had to take her to school, and she hasn't commented since because I think she must have realized that I was not the one.
Yeah.
Now, I could have gone the other way and really told her about herself. The girlfriend, you may be 20 years younger, but you look older than I do. But I'm nice. I didn't go there. But the fact of the matter is, I could have done. But why do we as women,
put this,
and I've mentioned this many times,
we
go for what we feel is the jugular?
Correct.
Yeah. If I am 51, it's but for the grace of God.
Amen.
If you ain't 51, you may not come and meet 51. So unlike maybe many other women that have allowed society to dictate to them and tell them who they are, I ain't one of them. I'm very proud of my age. In fact, I don't shut up about it because I am grateful. Not because I'm waiting for them to say, oh, Dilys, you look fantastic. No, I don't need to look fantastic. I need to look blessed.
Amen.
And for that reason, I celebrate who I am as a woman.
Hallelujah.
But as women, we need to stop this thing where we are so eager to say, oh, well, you're old and you're this, because for some other woman that may be going through the menopause, and Pt2, for example, you were saying it was like, oh my goodness, but I'm still having my periods. And all of a sudden it's that realization that
it's over.
Time. Oh yeah. Or you may say to yourself, it's over. And you're saying time is now dictating to me to a degree who I am. When you're in that state of vulnerability, then you have one rodent that will pop up and try and bring you down. We have to do better as women.
And another thing is, that's why I wanted the men to be on this show. You see what my husband did? He sort of publicized what I was going through. So I was really mad with him. I said, aside from you, it's only my mom, my dad, and my brother, and my sisters who know what's going on. Even my girlfriends, I didn't tell them. Well, my prayer team too, because I told them to pray for him. I was even more worried about him than me because he wanted sex. He's my husband, but I could not give him. Then he was making it seem like I don't want to sleep with him. But how do I sleep with you? Literally, it's dripping. It's oozing.
No,
I
had
to wear adult diapers. I had to wear adult diapers to bed. If I wore sanitary pads, how many times was I changing it? And I had to wear the extra large for sleeping. But in the daytime, even in the day, I could not go anywhere for those 5 months. I could not even go to church, which I love. I could not, when I went shopping, I was embarrassed. If he had to do the shopping, I could not leave the house because you don't know what's going to happen next. You're like, am I going to?
Yeah, if you have heavy periods generally, and I can so relate to that. For me, I have to wear black when I come in morning. I don't go anywhere. I have to make sure that my travel schedule and everything is centered around that. I can relate to that. And I cannot imagine having sex with, it would look like CSI. It would look like a crime scene investigation.
don't
have
go and
sex.
talk to your friends about what your wife is going through. Be sensitive to that, because now they're saying, "Oh, maybe she has fibroids. Maybe it's this." I loathe the fact that he did that. I don't like the fact that he did that. So men, if you're here, do not belittle your wife. Do not belittle the process, because guess what? Your mother went through it. Your sisters went through it. Your daughter will go through it. We're not the fastest to go through it. Be sensitive to what she's going through. Realize also, as Petra says, when you're going through this, you're mourning. You're mourning your femininity. You're mourning the fact that you cannot sleep with your husband, and there he tells you he's going to bring another woman. Shame on him. You're mourning the fact that you think you're not attractive, because also when the estrogen level goes up, progesterone goes down, you start losing your hair. There's certain things. My breasts started sagging. Okay, now they're up, if you guys can see, but it's because they put an IUD. It's true, they are up because they put an IUD. So the IUD normalized the progesterone. The IUD normalized the progesterone levels. Others was going to look like, and then he even started telling me, "Oh, your breasts are sagging." I said, dude, man, do you know what I'm going through? So who cares if you're making love to me and you notice they're sagging? So
I just want to say that actually fibroids are not necessarily linked to the perimenopause.
Correct. That is true, but for me,
they're very popular. They're very popular. And actually, many women they're quite popular, and many women have hysterectomy.
They say, but they told me it's because of it's mainly common in the black. But the menopause, the premenopause made them grow even more. So this is what I want to show you. So I'm taking this thing. If you guys can see, well, you probably can't see. Oh, you can't see. But it's the evergreen. Can you see? Oh, there, it's evergreen tea. Can you see that? It's too light. Can you?
It's a bit light. Let me put on my glasses.
Okay, there. It's evergreen. Okay, there. Okay, there. Can you see? It's evergreen tea.
I'll tell you what you can do. If you can pop a link or something.
Okay,
I'm going to go to some comments, actually.
Okay.
Let me just see who's on here. I see Tasha and Patience are laughing, and Aisha. And Chris, so lovely to have you on here. Sis Evan says, I need to look blessed. Amen to Dilys. It's true. I need to look is blessed. I mean, I'm not being funny. There are many women that are beautiful, but you can see that they have stress and anxiety and everything on their head. I know what I'd rather look like. Silly girl. Anyway, Lynette says, live live. A good-looking 51-year-old Dilys, you are beautiful, and God bless you. Thank you, my love. Tasha says, amen. Petra, thank you for putting a lot of links on here. So, guys, when we finish the broadcast, do click on them, read up, get educated, and share amongst your male and female friends, male and female, associates. It is important. Tasha says, you know what I dislike? People would say to me, wow, you look good for 41. I'm like, what should a 41-year-old person look like? Some people are so dumb. No, it's true. And this is the point. It's like you reach a certain age and you should look a certain way, or you should look raggedy and haggard. I really don't know. I don't know. Ahor Febab says, women, we need to be our own best friends and support one another, not throw each other under the bus. You're absolutely right. Because with that lady, when she made that statement, I said, listen, you're a black girl. You need to do better. Because as black women, we need to have advocates amongst ourselves as well as. So if you are being unnecessarily nasty, it just limits the places where we can, create those spaces that are safe. It was unnecessary. If we're talking about Ashanti's belly button and I make a comment and say, I don't think she's had surgery, because I'm basically 10 years older than she is, and I've got the same belly button, and I don't think so. Where does, but you look 51 come from? We need to stop feeling that we have to be so nasty. That jealousy gene, we need to lose it. It's not helpful, because you know what? It may not be you today, but it will be you tomorrow. And we just have to do better. Let me see if I've missed any other comments. Guys, if you are watching on Facebook, there is a send stars little tab. And as I mentioned before, that enables people to give a monetary gift, which supports the content that I put out there. I am looking to grow this, platform to reach more people, because more of us need to have these kind of conversations. When you look at the level of ignorance we have on certain topics, we need to do more. I was completely ignorant. The phrase perimenopause, I'm ashamed to say, I only came across that phase this year. I didn't know about it. And it's now enabled me to go and look at certain things that I need to inquire about medically, because let me tell you what's happening here. Because of the limited information that we have, we are having to be our own doctors, our own nurses, our own lawyers, our own, HR specialists, so that when we go to see our doctors, we go informed. Because what I'm hearing from a lot of women, especially in this country, is that they're going to their GPs with symptoms, and all they're being told is, oh, you're going through the menopause. Take this, take that, and you'll be fine. Nobody is taking the time to say to these women, actually, you are going through the menopause. When did your mother go through it? What was her experience? Are you in a relationship? Are you married? Are you in a relationship? Because this phase that you are going through may have an adverse impact on your personal life.
Yes.
It may have an impact on your mental health.
Right.
You may experience depression, anxiety, and all of those things. Those conversations are not being had.
Correct.
Women are finding themselves in the throes of depression, anxiety, and what have you, and are thinking there is something wrong with me. They are thinking, I am now going through manic depression.
I'm dying.
And I'm dying, or I need to be treated for a mental health issue. When actually it is a symptom, it is not the cause. The conversation is being had far later than it should be. So rather than the women being proactive, we are being reactive. Where we could be speaking to our spouses and partners and what have you to say, look, this is what the menopause looks like. This is how it can impact us. And have those conversations with your husband or your spouse or your partner and say, what would that mean for us? If you have a husband or a partner who is highly sexed, then you may have to look at other ways of pleasuring yourself that does not involve penetrative sex. We're all adults on this show, and if you're not, you need to log off. But these are some of the things and conversations that we need to have in advance. Not when a man's got a hard on and say, well, actually, darling, I'm going through the menopause.
I'm so happy you say that, because for me, I was so scared even of making love with my husband after they put the IUD, because I thought, because he had to go with me the day the OBGYN was inserting the IUD in me. I had to go, open my legs like a frog. They put him on these stirrups, and he had to be with me. I had to go take pain medication. I had like 5 doctors with me, and he was here holding my hand. But he's like looking through my vagina when they're putting it and seeing, oh, how deep is it going? But I was scared that the first time we had sex, I was so scared, because I'm like, what if we had sex and then he penetrates me and then it comes out? It's a scary thought that even you don't feel sexy for your husband. You don't feel desirable for your husband. And in fact, if he tells you, oh, you know what, if you don't want to make love with me, I'm going to look for somebody else. I'm like, okay, go ahead. Yeah. You can easily say that because you're feeling diminished as a woman, as your role as a wife, as your role as a woman in this world. It's good for a woman to be desired. Absolutely. So when you're not desirable to your husband, then, I mean, I look good. I know I'm 52. I look good for my age, but you want to be desirable for your husband, because I do not want him to go looking for other women to pleasure him. I'm here to pleasure him, just like he's meant to pleasure me. Absolutely. It was a scary thought. You're like, oh my goodness, this sex thing. So the doctor's like, no, you can have sex normally. It's going to be okay. You're going to be fine. So even as a woman is being told you have to remove your uterus because this very menopause, I think it's not right for a doctor to preempt your menopause or perimenopause, to kind of cut it short. I think it's a process that we should all go through, unless, of course, there was a life and death situation. In my case, this past Tuesday on the 11th, they wanted to do a hysterectomy on me. I was going to do a laparoscopic hysterectomy to pull out my uterus from my belly button. Can you imagine? My mother in Kenya told me, Judy, don't worry, the day they have that thing, I'll come and take care of you, my daughter. My mother, who is like turning 70 on Christmas this year, how? I said, let me tell you something. When you feel uneasy about a procedure, when you feel uneasy about anything in your life, don't go forward with it.
I agree.
For me, I said, doctor, I've been taking this thing, please. So he told me, you know what, Judy, after 6 weeks, we're going to do an ultrasound, because this thing is shrinking. He said, how do you know? I said, I know. So let me tell you how you know it's shrinking. There's a discharge. It's like a spotting discharge. If you're grossed by it, it's like a discharge. It has like a kind of foul smell, but it's because it's mass. It's coming out of my body.
Yeah.
And I have to change sanitary pads a couple of times a day. But I'm in pain. But for the most part, I'm glad even that it's happening, because I don't. What could have been worse? I could have died last year. Like I said, I'll be 6 feet under. But don't be scared of talking these things with your husband. Let him know what's going on. Pray for him if you're a prayerful person. Counsel him. Go for counseling, because when a man is so physical, they have to have sex. A woman can go for periods without sex. But if he doesn't have sex and then he starts blaming you, that's not fair. But look for ways to, as Dilys says, you pleasure him. And even you start documenting what you're going through with your body. I used to document.
I think that's a very good point about documenting.
Yeah, I used to document. And then they did bleeding. Because you want to see how is the flow on each day. Because if they hadn't put the IUD, I could have bled out. Then you become anemic. Your iron, your bones started getting affected, your organs. What happens? Document. You lose appetite. Now, because of that happening, by the way, I was having insomnia. Because of the perimenopause, hot flashes, I wasn't eating well. I was only eating like beans for protein. I didn't want heavy meals. I started developing colic, like very bad case of acid reflux. Yeah, so I could not take like garlic. I could not eat any foods with garlic or ginger or onions. I was eating very bland food, even tomatoes. They'll just feel like regurgitating. So it's good to know your body, know what you're going to document. And I used to document, on this day I ate this. When I eat this, I feel okay.
Yeah. I just want to say again that fibroids are not necessarily.
I understand. I'm talking about remember I said earlier, I'm talking about what I went through with the perimenopause. And for me it was, and I said earlier, it was what I was going through the perimenopause. It was the fibroids and the cysts and everything on top of the perimenopause. But I'm saying because of all that, now the fibroids now increased in size. And again, because of the perimenopause, I was bleeding. And I'm bleeding because my uterus, I said the estrogen level went high and progesterone level was low.
I also have fibroids. I
understand, Petra. I'm talking from my own experience. So let me say this. My estrogen level really went high and my progesterone went low. Because of that, now I lost appetite. The many things that was happening to me. Because of that, my uterus lining was thickened. And that was what was causing the bleeding, excessive bleeding.
Okay.
And again, they put the IUD in me to stop the bleeding. Because if they hadn't, I would have bled out. And on top of that, of course, I had the fibroids, which was making everything worse.
So these IUDs that they recommend, so fibroids are a separate topic, and usually the doctor recommends
No, I know. I'm just saying on what I was going through.
Yeah, they are the hormonal
IUD.
The one hormonal IUD are
That's the Mirena one?
for women who have the fibroids.
That's what I have.
Yeah. Was it the Mirena one?
Mirena. They had to put Mirena in me to normalize the estrogen, because the estrogen was really high and the progesterone was really low. So they.
I had to have that because of really, really heavy periods.
Yeah.
But you kind of think that you've got to wire up your fanny, and it's
really right? it's kind of scary. I'm like, oh my God, now if he penetrates, is it gonna come out? And then they even say when it's in there, it can rust. No, mine is a plastic one. It's not gonna rust, but it can come out. And then they say you have to go in.
They say the strings can disappear and all those horrible.
And then they go in and try and fill it. I'm not gonna feel myself like that.
The reason why I'm glad that we're going into detail and even bringing in other things as well.
Yeah.
Just to show the magnitude of what we women go through.
Yes.
There's so much.
And I can share. I have a family history to share, by the way. And so my aunt and my cousin and my sister had hysterectomies as well due to fibroids. So it turned out that both of them were around their mid-40s. The three of them were around their mid-40s when that happened. However, it was the doctor's recommendation that hysterectomy was the best solution for them. In my case, they were small fibroids, and I chose not to go down that route. And I went and I did fasting, fruit-only fasting for 21 days. But because they are quite common, it doesn't need to be perimenopause related. My mother's story is more interesting, actually, because she had her problems started quite early. And my mom was chief finance officer of the military hospital in the southeast region of the country. This was the best hospital in the area. And she was amongst the doctors, and they couldn't figure out what was going on with her. And she was just saying, something's wrong with me. Something's really wrong. And doctors were saying, there's nothing wrong with you. Go back to work. And she's in the hospital. And turns out for years, they were giving her some kind of antidepressants. They were treating something mental health related, apparently. And that didn't help. And she still wasn't feeling well. And I remember vaguely, because I was young, but she told me when I started my perimenopause, she told me her story. And I remember her walking and she had to hold herself she was walking next to the walls, and she had to hold herself because she was feeling dizzy from everything that was going on for her. And that lasted for 4 years. And these pills actually didn't do her any good and she had to go working as well, until she went to the dentist. And it was the dentist who told her, you're quite young, but why don't you check your hormones? And it turned out she had a very early perimenopause, and she did have her period as well. Her period was regular, and because of that, no one even thought that it might be this.
But I think that's something that I want to, interject here. But before we do that, if you've just joined this show, I would just want to introduce this show to you. This is obviously you're on Speak with Dilys. My name is Dilys Silla, and I've put this show together, not this particular episode, but Speak with Dilys, generally to create a safe space for us to have conversations that we normally wouldn't have. A place where, we can have a conversation respectfully, where it's met with kindness and compassion and support. It's so important. So if you don't know who I am, I will reintroduce myself. I am the best-selling author of the book, Not This Widow, and my first publication, Predator or Print, How to Find the Man of Your Dreams, Not Your Nightmares. I'm a minister in New Glory Ministry. I'm also the patron of the school, Fountain of Youth International School in Ghana. I am an accredited and qualified life coach as well. And I'm also an events host. I'm probably 101 other things that I can't even think of right now. But if you can think of it, it means I do it, in which case, come and see me. So thank you for being on here. We are speaking about the menopause. This is part 2 of The Forgotten Woman, because we do essentially feel forgotten. That a phase of our life that is so important and inevitable that no real provision, has been made for us. So Petra, you mentioned something just now about periods. And I wanted to stop you there because I think it's something really important that some of us feel that we aren't premenopausal because we are having regular periods. Now, if your level of education about the menopause is as basic as mine, which is the menopause is when you stop having your periods, then if you're having your periods and you're not going through the menopause, but that's not the case. And if you're somebody that's young, 30, 40, and, contrary to what society tells you, 40, you are young, okay, then you're not going to think that this journey has begun for me. So I think it's really important, the fact that you are still having your periods, go to your doctor and have your hormone levels checked. Back to you, Petra.
Yes.
Yeah. So apparently here in UK, when you are 45, the doctors automatically assume you are perimenopausal. I didn't know that. My GP told me. And she was insisting, you are perimenopausal. And when I did my bloods, then I actually got convinced about that. But I wasn't thinking that it was a serious issue and that all of the health problems I had were due to this. So it was quite a journey. And I was reluctant to have HRT, hormonal replacement therapy as well.
You've got a lot of women not happy.
I did a lot of research, the resources that I posted in the Facebook. Yes, in the comment, there is a lot of information there. And actually, this lady, Dr. Louise Newson, she is an advocate for HRT because when people have a look at the resources, they will decide for themselves. However, they speak about how HRT helps prevent the side effects of the lack of estrogen. So it's not for everyone. I did try it twice. It didn't work for me. So for my mother, she had these serious problems. Once she started HRT, that was ages ago, many years ago, all of her problems disappeared, and she had her life back finally. And back at the time, the HRT was made from the urine of pregnant horses. While now they are made of the ones that the ones that the GPs in UK prescribe are plant-based. They are made from yams, and they don't have such side effects. So actually, the doctor needs to weigh the benefits and the risk. So people thinking about using HRT should consult a doctor. They shouldn't be just taking HRT without consulting a doctor. For me, it didn't really work because it turned out the harm was bigger than the benefits.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I still think that maybe later I will try, when later on, around the age of 50 probably, I might try again. But for now, it just didn't work for me. So it doesn't work for everyone.
Yeah, and again, I think that's important. So, and it just lends itself to support the argument how individual we are.
Yeah.
And this is why when you just have this blanket response, oh, the menopause is just when you stop having your periods, it's such an injustice to any woman that is going to go through that process, which is, most women. It's just that dependent on the time. Guys, if you're watching this, please do share. Let me just see how many of you have shared this, because if once you share, please do put your name in there so at least I can acknowledge, and at the very least thank you, because it is as you can see, it's a very important conversation. And I'm really blessed at seeing a couple of men watching and saying that they want to know more information about fibroids. So I'm just going to go and read some of the comments. Charisma, thank you for watching. She said these topics are so very important, it can feel so isolating. And I can relate to that, not because I felt isolated, because I've not really gone into the full, throes of this. Like, I'm learning just as you guys are, that, if you reach a certain age and you're automatically deemed to be going through a premenopausal state, even though I know women, many of my friends who have had children at that age from 45 upwards, who are still having children. So there's that as well. Afolabi, thank you for watching. Afolabi says, I think it's a good idea to have a discussion about fibroids and how it affects the female, which is great. Charisma said, thank you so much for that clarification, Dilys. I think this was about the periods, the fact you can still be having periods and be perimenopausal. Evans Matheny says, Petra, please expound on the fibroid topic. Some men out here think their wives are pregnant of another man. And this is the problem with our African men. And then it's only African men that think that way. So I am not even being funny. This is why. Okay, so where do I even begin to take this conversation? Okay, and I've mentioned this many times about African marriages, generally speaking, especially from my parents' era, even though my parents have got a very modern, marriage, even though they've been married, 62 years this year. We marry, generally speaking, emphasis on the word generally, because it is the right thing to do at that time. Whether as a Christian or the fact that you have reached the age of marriage, that's why we marry. We don't marry, I love you, you love me, let's get married and live happily ever after. I repeat, generally. Okay? In the absence of that reason for marriage, relationship and trust are often absent. I know this because I am an African woman. I am a marriage coach. And I've been there, done that, worn the t-shirt in that regard. In as much that the conversation that I could have in terms of life insurance, wills, death, the average African woman wouldn't dare. Because the moment the husband goes into the family and says, oh, my wife discussed me writing a will, especially if that man has got money, then it means the wife is planning to kill her husband.
Yes.
So, and you know, stay with me, because the comment that Evans put on here stems from that. Why would you, just because your wife's stomach is big, assume that she's pregnant for another man? So what, it's somehow a punishment that God has given her, that she's got this big stomach and can't give birth because she's been unfaithful? It's a travesty that there are some men that still think in that basic archaic way in regards to their wives. It's worrisome, because where we need to be having these conversations and saying, right, darling, I'm not yet menopausal, but at that time, this could happen, that could happen. You know, if you're not lucky, that's when the man will probably say, oh, you know, you're just trying to cover your tracks in advance, so that at the time when you go and sleep off with another man, your stomach starts getting big, but you're just covering your bases. It's important that we find ourselves in good relationships. More to the point, that we create them before we enter them.
Right.
Because if you do not create that space of trust where you can speak about absolutely anything, and you see, and this is why as women, when we get into that space of, so long as you answer to the title of Mrs., that's the be all and end all of life, this is when real life happens. When your husband dies, or you fall ill, or you're going through the menopause and you need that emotional support, you won't have it. The title Mrs. ain't going to keep you warm.
Correct.
So we really do need to make sure that we cultivate those relationships that are beneficial to us as women as well.
Yes, correct.
This nonsense, and it is nonsense, that as a woman you wait to be chosen. I said, no, you can do the choosing. You do the choosing by how much confidence you have built up within yourself,
Exactly.
the level of your own personal healing, and the establishment of your identity, such that the kind of men that you will attract to you, I could never attract a man that is insecure and needs to control. He couldn't handle this. I could only be with a man who is a real man, in every sense, in every facet of that word, a king. That's the only kind of man I could be with.
Amen.
So I'm in that kind of relationship. I know that there is nothing that is off limits or out of bounds for me to discuss, whether it's, sweetheart, do you have a will? Have you got life insurance? I've got life insurance. What are we going to do? I can have those conversations.
Amen. Amen.
Ain't no man thinking I'm going to kill him. So when you have a comment that is made, like, you know, we need to discuss this more because some men think their wives are pregnant for other men. How do you even make the correlation between fibroids, unfaithfulness, and being pregnant? It means that there are some real issues going on here that need to be addressed in our culture. And, you know, it's not great that we allow ourselves to, you know, go down that road without any filter, because it's very damaging. What is happening, you know, you're already going through, you know, the menopause, you're already going through this horrible situation, and yet still you are having to manage the ignorance and, dare I say, the stupidity of your husband. How do you manage that whilst you're struggling to even manage yourself?
So, Dilys, I just want to add, like, I remember when I told my husband, I think I'm pregnant. When I was in Kenya, we'd pray my time, 3 p.m. minus 8 hours ahead, 7 a.m. for him. And he's calling my wife, this is Shweta, my wife, Judy Shweta. The moment I tell him, I think I'm pregnant, he started calling me Judy. And then he told me that I did something. Whose baby is it? I said, hey, Adewale, whose baby do you think it is? You're the only man I've been with, the only man that I know. Yes, even like I said earlier, if you look at my stomach, well, you cannot see now, but I look like I'm pregnant. I'm not pregnant. It's just that it's the fibers that are, they mimic
Shape the
pregnancy,
stomach out, yeah.
right? And they're shrinking now. So you think I'm pregnant, but I'm not. So fibroids are a serious thing. And I said, thank God for this drink. There's another one from Kenya. It's called Arorwet. Back in the days, even now, we used to have this thing called Marobaine from Kenya. It's a herbal thing. They didn't go to the doctor. They didn't take medication. What did they do for period pain? What did they do for fibroids? Because fibroids didn't start in 2000. It didn't start with us, with Dilys or Petra or myself, Petra. They were there when our mother's time and their mother's time. What did they do? How did they treat it? Herbs is the key. I'm so glad that I started taking this thing like 6 weeks ago, and I'm going to continue taking it until this thing shrink. And my doctor will get a miracle. He'll get a shock of his life, because I don't believe that a drastic surgery is what will do it. It will end those fibroids. No, take this. It's for reproductive health. It will improve it will regulate your menstrual cycle. Before I started taking this thing, I would have menstruation for 3 weeks. Never mind, I have an IUD in me, so really should be normal. In fact, I should stop menstruating. Yeah, but when I started taking this thing, 3 days, that's it. It's normalizing. So now can you imagine what it's doing? Now it's shrinking this fibroids that I do not need to go in, because I'm like, oh my goodness, surgery. I don't want to go through surgery. I was crying. I'm like, that is so drastic. Because what else? If they remove my uterus, then what? I'm like, my hair will fall off. Then I told my doctor, I said, but in the Bible it says that woman without, I don't have a womb. Am I a woman? I said, but you have a vagina. You're a woman. I said, I know, but what does it do to my self-esteem? What does it do to my femininity? The pride of being a woman, you're voluptuous and everything. Because obviously, it will take away my estrogen. I won't be voluptuous as I am now, or certain things will be
change. Yeah.
Right? Physical change. I'm going through the physical change, the emotional change, the financial, even professional now. They're giving me writing me at work. My husband is just walked away. I mean, it's just so many things you're dealing with. But the sanity is you pray to God, and God will give the sanity. And these conversations, we need to keep them going. That if Judy went through this, if Petra went through this, or if Dilys went through this, and surely Judy says, if I take this, it will help me. I don't have to have a hysterectomy or this. Don't do it. There are many ways you can treat this fibroids or treat. You don't have to go through the knife. And talk to your mother. My mother had it. Usually they are genetic. What treatment did she have? In fact, my mom had a hysterectomy when we lived in England. We lived in Reading. In the 90s, my mom had a hysterectomy in Reading. And she was sick. She said, Judy, from the time I did they removed my uterus, I've been having problems. She said, this happened to me. Don't do that, Judy. I said, okay, mom.
So this is what I'm saying. And I know that we are talking about, the menopause, and sometimes, and this is how the conversation or this show about the menopause came about, because we were talking about something completely different. And I don't know how the conversation went onto the menopause. I said, right, we're going to do a show on the menopause. So stick with us. I know we're talking about the menopause, but the fibroid thing is important. And I very much, that's why I don't like my show to be scripted. I like things to just grow organically, because we're girls having a conversation, and I think it's important that, again, what worked for Judy may not work for you. What works for Petra may not work for you. I haven't done anything yet. Well, trust me, when I start going through the chain properly, I will let you know on what works for me. But I think have those conversations. What we are giving you.
And then journal, just write.
Yes, it's information. Oh, I listened to this show and some lady said X and this other lady said Y. So what do you recommend? Because you see, many a time, and you find this throughout life, people will deal with you based on the level of information that you have. I am one of the few people that will go and read and study and pay to be educated, and will come and give you content for free and say, oh, send me some stars as cheap as 89p. Not that my knowledge is not valuable, but I believe in my calling. That's just basically what it is. Because believe you me, if I wanted to charge for the content that I give, I would be able to charge a lot of money. But I feel it's important that we have the information. Take it, query it, research it, use it to your advantage. Let me read some comments. Lynette says it would be great to share the link to the product, Judy. Judy, can you share the link of where you can buy that product?
I have near my house. I'm in Houston, Texas. Maybe you can give her my contact. I don't mind if you give my contact, because it doesn't even have. The guy sells him. He has a store, a herbal store. I buy it from him. But there's another one from Kenya. There's another one from Kenya. Although this one it's liquid, it's a powder thing. This one I like it because I normally take like that size of water, and with teaspoon, half a teaspoon I take it in the night before I go to bed.
I'll tell you what you can do.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are watching Judy on the show, but just put your profile link in the comment box, and you can contact Judy.
Yeah.
Anita says exactly bush mentality. I know you were talking about
in the Facebook group, Judy. If you can put the comment in the Facebook group, not here in the StreamYard, because she has put the product here in the StreamYard.
It's on YouTube. I'm on YouTube. Facebook, sorry.
Oh, okay,
Facebook.
yeah. So there's Facebook and
I'm on Facebook.
It will show up. It should show up, or I'll find it anyway and I'll post it.
Yeah.
Lynette says, since I turned 50, I get so much morbid mail, mainly from the NHS, to join this club, get this check. Just over a week ago, I received through the post a bowel cancer screening kit. Yes, my mouth dropped. This is because my GP practice supports this program. It makes this topic all of a sudden. Why can't this sort of stuff be spoken about prior to anyone doing this test? I refuse to test myself as I feel I know my body. Okay, now let me tell you something about this, Lynette. If you didn't watch the week before, or part 1 of The Forgotten Woman, do watch it. Because there are certain tests or certain cancers that we become more susceptible to because of the menopause. And bowel cancer is one of them. That's the reason why you're getting it. Do you see why this conversation is so important? For this very reason. And I only know this because when I was doing my research for the show, there were other tests that were recommended that we have when we are in the menopausal state. So I would advise that you have a conversation with your GP, let them explain to you in greater detail as to why. But, go and watch last week's show, week before last, or part 1. And hopefully that kind of might explain things a little bit more. Patience says, that's right. Princess Finny, thank you for joining. Said, you are absolutely correct, Dilys. Thank you too. Yvonne, I'm here. Thank you for being on here. She says, very informative. There's a few of you that are new on here, so I hope you're enjoying the show. I hope you're sharing. I hope you're inviting people to watch this. I think you should. Very important conversation. Charisma says, these topics are so very informative. It can feel isolating. Yes. There was a few more. Yes, Gloria Ajwa Safwa Aqua says, human resources should really focus on humans, literally what humans go through, and with female reproductive health being one. 21st century and a woman being asked why she gets up frequently to pee. Really? I am with you, girl.
It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
It's disgusting. Afalabi says, shame on the men that do not pay attention to the traumatic stress that their partner are going through due to menopause. If I notice a behavior change in my wife, personally, sex is the last thing that comes to mind. And that's why I love this man. Afalabi is normally on the show.
What up?
Oh, and I know the wife very well. You know, there are men and there are men. Do you understand? There are men and there are men. I don't want to talk too much, but Afalabi, I'm not coming from you. I'm just so not surprised. So God bless you. Dreaming Daisy Funke says, very informative. Thank you very much. I hope you've shared. Gloria says, imagine a world where reproductive health is an open conversation where everyone embraces. Imagine that. So that's what we are starting here, where we take on that responsibility. And Sikak CA says, Judy, thanks for being transparent. I had fibroids and finally underwent hysterectomy in 2018. I know how frustrating it can be. I pray you get the support you need from your employer and your spouse. Thank you very much for that comment. Sask says, she's writing from the States, experientially women are either menstrual, premenstrual, or postmenopausal throughout their maturation. We are hormonal creatures possessing the cortisol, wherein the negative effects produces depression. The dreaded weight gain, metabolic changes, cluster migraine, severe mood swings, and compromised sexual activity. Living in the domains of sexism, men haven't any regard or care as to how the affections of menopause affects the psychological, emotional, and physical.
Yes.
Not.
Yes.
I think it's a physical. That's where it stops. And you're absolutely right. But you see, I always say this: every problem in this world is down to a woman, and every solution is down to a woman. We possess far more power than we give ourselves credit for. We lay down with these men, we reproduce with these men, and we give birth to sons with these men. We have a responsibility to raise our sons to respect women. It's not the man's responsibility, because we have a vested interest. We have so much. You see, when people, you see, this is why I say, don't look for political correctness on my show. You will not find it here. When they say a woman cannot raise a man, in what capacity? There are some things that are manly, that yes, a man has to do that job. But there are things that a woman can teach a man that another man cannot teach his son. Only a woman can teach his son, can teach her son.
Her son.
And that is respect. How a woman wants to be treated. Yeah, man can teach that, but not better than a woman can.
Correct.
A man cannot teach his son about how he should support his wife during the menopausal state better than a woman can. Because whatever the man is teaching is secondhand news. It's what he has been told.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We can do the teaching.
Thank you.
We possess far more power than we give ourselves credit for.
Thank you.
Speak to your sons.
And your husbands.
But the thing is, before you get to your husband,
Oh, yes, your son. Correct.
That's somebody's husband.
Yeah. Yes,
Possibly.
Correct.
Have that conversation. Because what we are doing essentially is playing catch up. The husband that doesn't understand the wife is because there was a failure in his upbringing to make him a good husband. All I see on social media, especially on, amongst Africans, is wife material. What rubbish. Husband material is also a thing.
No, I am so grateful for my father, my late father. He died last year, August 24th, 2021. My father would tell my husband, he's like, Adewale, take care of your wife, not my daughter. Take care of your Judy, your wife, because when you take care of Judy, well, she's going through the menopause, perimenopause, the fibers are going to, she's not going to be stressed, and the fibers will not, take care of your wife. Adewale, take care of your wife. When my mom was going through this thing with my dad was working in London in the Reading. We lived in Reading, in the UK. I mean, they are the model. You're saying your mom and dad are the model. Dilys, they were married for 54 years before Daddy died. Daddy died last year. I've never seen, and my mom says, no, my daughters, you'll never get a husband like mine. And so my sister always say, Mommy, you're the one who jinxed us, because how come all of us, our husbands, I don't know, okay, well, some of us, our husbands are just, I don't know. But my dad was such a gentleman. Daddy even would say, Judy, my daughter, I've seen this thing on YouTube. You take ginger root. You take the ginger root, turmeric root, black pepper, boil it, my daughter. Judy, when you're on your menstrual, if you're in pain, drink that thing. It's going to shrink your fibroids. My father was going through prostate cancer and he's doing all this. He died last year of COVID because of the prostate. But look at that. In fact, the other day I had a dream. I said, oh, God, Daddy. I said, Daddy, I wish you were alive. Daddy, guess what? The fibers are shrinking. And I said, Daddy, that prayer you had for me, the prayer you had for me, God told me, don't worry. He's here with me in heaven. And I believe it's so true. They say that when your loved one dies, they become your guardian angel. I'm telling you that is so true. I felt like Daddy knows what I'm going through. And his prayer was, which man wants his daughter to suffer? Which man, unless he's crazy, wants his wife to suffer? If you love your wife, when she's sick, you say, baby, let me cook dinner for you. You love her feet. Baby, I love you so much. Let me do the cooking. What do you want for dinner? I'll make for you fufu. I'll make a gusi, whatever. Make for you chapati. Take care of you and rub your back for me. Okay, one thing my husband used to do, because these things were painful, the fibers, he'll boil water for me. I had a hot water bottle. I still have it. He'll put water in the hot water bottle and rub my back, rub my feet. Do those things that when you're caught in this woman, when you're trying to woo her to become your wife, that you did for her. Now that she's not well, don't stop doing those things and don't start saying you're going to look at her.
Judy, on that note, those women, you see what you said?
Yes.
When you were courting the things he was doing, there are some women who are very stupid. That during the courting process, Petra, bear with me. I'm taking it to Africa, yeah?
Africa.
During the courting process, they are so stupid. They are washing dirty underpants.
But
they are cooking like maid servant. They are
me.
doing everything as if they are wife.
Not me.
They are not.
No.
So they haven't even experienced
Put a ring
anything
on
during the courting period.
Yes.
They were a slave before marriage and they're a slave during marriage. They don't have any reference point to go back to say, oh.
And then you cannot stop it. Once you start doing those things, you cannot stop. Because the moment you stop, it says that you don't love me anymore. Then he's going to use that to bring another woman. Men are very selfish. I used to be told by my sisters, Judy, you think men are selfish? Judy, wait until you get married. Oh, when I got married is when I saw. They are selfish, men. Actually, I don't know about African men.
I love
like Nigerian men. I'm from Kenya.
Some men,
But
because
Nigerian men, even West Africa, they know how to, they go to the kitchen. Kenyan men are very spoiled. They don't. The only thing they know how to do is probably boil water, boil an egg. But
which men are
Nigerian men,
spoiled?
huh?
Nigerian
cook.
Yeah, they do.
Nigerians cook,
Really?
yes. The ones I know in America, they cook.
Yeah.
But Kenyan, which Kenyan man will go? Which one will go to the kitchen?
Oh, well, I don't know about Kenyan men.
Which Kenyan man? He will not. Oh, you will wait.
Actually, that reminds me, because was she Ugandan?
Ugandans really, they're taught to, when they're giving their husbands food, they do this. They kneel for their husbands.
You're right, because there's a lady that I used to work with, and she said to me that her husband would not eat food that wasn't prepared that day. I thought,
I said, listen, leftover. Who has time? You are here in America or in the UK. You have a full-time job. See, you have business, you have ministry. What time do you have to go to the kitchen? Me, I'm lucky. I work from home
every single day.
No,
every day.
When it's leftover, I will spark chicken for you. Whenever I went to Kenya, I made chapati for my husband. I made vegetable. I made chicken. Freezer, warm it. If Judy is not, are you gonna go hungry? My dad, Judy, now that you're in Kenya, who is cooking for your husband? I said, Daddy, that man is West African, Nigerian. He knows how to cook. I'm not worried about him.
Kenyan men. Okay, yes. Evans is saying not all men, and no, absolutely, because men can be wonderful.
You can train him.
Can be wonderful.
You can train him.
We have the good, the bad, and the ugly across the board. So Evans, I take your point, and like my dad.
Be there for your woman when she's going through fibroids or perimenopause. Please be there. She will not sleep when she's perimenopausal. Yeah. She'll have insomnia. Her blood pressure is gonna go up. Whatever, just be there for her. Do those, rub her back. She'll be in physical pain. She'll be her mood swinging because of the perimenopause. Her estrogen is going up. Progesterone is going down. She will not have the sexual drive. Please just be there for your wife when she's perimenopausal and she's menopausal. She will feel like many times I wanted to cry because I'm like, oh my God, I don't feel well. I feel this. Oh, look at my breasts. Oh, they are shrinking. Those things that matter to us. Oh, look at my breasts. Oh, they're shrinking. So you want a man to be there for your woman. Come on. When she's going through perimenopause or menopause.
Let me read some more comments.
They're big now. It's true.
It's so important, I think, that people take responsibility to educate themselves on the subject, because if someone wants to find out more, there is a lot of information available, actually. We just need to know where to look or ask for...
and we can make it fun. Do you know what I mean? We can make it fun. We can laugh. We can joke about it. Everything doesn't have to be. Then again, my show is never so serious anyway. No matter what we're talking about, it could be anything. We'll always have a laugh. But you're right. We do need to go. We do need to know where to go for information. And I'm just going through some of the comments here. Lynette says, "Thank you for that advice, Dilys. You're right. It would be foolish to remain ignorant. After all, there is nothing to fear, and thank goodness my doctor is so understanding." Do you see? You see this one? This is the point I'm making. This is Lynette that's gone from, oh, I'm not going to do it, to actually I will have that conversation. So therefore, you now will have what you didn't have before, and that is knowledge. You then feel empowered. You feel that you're in control of your life, because, but Petra, I'm sure you can identify with this. The more information you have, the more in control of the change. Because when we were speaking before, you were saying you embraced this journey.
Yes.
And I believe that you embraced the journey because you got informed. What was fearful then became something that, actually, I can do this. If I know what to expect, I can manage it. We're struggling because we don't know what to expect. It's just sprung on us and we're just supposed to deal with it, Yeah.
So, it's normal part of our life journey. So, by the way, I just want to mention that it's already late and I'm starting to lose language, and that's part of the menopause, the perimenopause, and I've noticed other women as well. I search for my words and the words don't come. And because I'm bilingual, the same thing happens in Bulgarian as well, in my mother tongue as well. I need the word, I know the word, but it just doesn't come to my mind. Exactly. So one of the links that I posted is actually about cultural differences. related to the perimenopause.
Brilliant.
And when you go there, it's the last one, the third one, and you will see about the women in Japan, also the Native American women. So apparently the Western women, we suffer more, and it probably has to do with what we eat and the lifestyle we have. But it's really interesting to see how that's being perceived in other cultures.
That's
for me personally, yes, that's very interesting.
I'll tell you why, because I have an article here. I want to look intelligent, so I'm going to put my glasses on. Not that I need them, there's nothing wrong with my eyes. Guys, if you're watching, please do share. It says here, Black women go through the menopause 2 years earlier than white women, according to research. A new report was found that Black women can experience the menopause differently to white women, with it even starting earlier. Decades of research has revealed that Black women reach menopause at 49, which is 2 years earlier than the national average age. The study of women's health across the nation, SWAN, also found that Black women spend more time in the menopause transition than white women. The study indicated that hot flushes and night sweats are reported more often by Black women. Dr. Nanette Santoro, professor, and E. Stewart Taylor, chair of obstetrics and gynecology at the University of Colorado School of Medicine, says there are lots of factors at play as to why this could be. She said, my educated guess is that a lot of the differences have their basis in lifestyle, which is what you just mentioned. SEF, socioeconomic status, and other stressors such as systemic racism and their long-term consequences. Stress can bring on the menopause early, so the physiological effects of racism are a possible reason for early onset. Karen Arthur, podcast host of Menopause, While Black, lost her sense of self when she went through the menopause. She wants her podcast to highlight how under-researched this area is. Karen said when she looked up the menopause while going through it, websites told her Black women don't go through the menopause through the lack of diversity seen in advertising around menopausal issues. I image searched the menopause and all I saw was a sea of white women with silver hair in beige clothing, surrounded by lavender with forlorn looks on their faces, she explained. Black women don't have it easy. We never have, historically and statistically. We are raised to work at least twice as hard and then some to prove we can be on a level. She suffered. We are raised to work twice as hard and then some to prove we can be on a level. So you'd think it would be fair that we skip the menopause, but no. She suffered with low mood and anxiety, which is across the board, and left her job as a teacher behind due to the severity of her symptoms. An invisibility report found that in general, 2/3 of women feel blindsided by the menopause and not prepared. And 90% of those polled wanted more inclusivity from brands advertising products and services linked to the menopause, which is something that Boots is now doing by launching a symbol to help women identify menopausal products available on its online hub. That is the end of the article. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I will try and post it so that we can maybe read it at our own leisure. So there are certain things within that are across the board, like this lady's mood swings, her having to, leave her job, which is something that, we've spoken about before. And, the fact that, stress can bring on the menopause early. So I think it's interesting that there is that contradiction between white women and Black women, even after this study. And I think it just goes to show how much more research actually needs to be done.
Yes, there is information. I had a look on internet, information about the average menopause age in the different continents. So it's different in North America and Europe, it's similar, but in South America and Asia and Africa, it's different. Apparently in Asia, there is a bigger age span.
Yes, and they have children for a lot longer, don't they?
Yeah. So there is enough information for people who are interested. You can search in Google. Definitely.
Yemisi's comment said, this is such an informative and educative show. Kudos, ladies. Thank you very much. We try. Let me see. I think another comment has come. Okay. Hi, Princess. How are you doing? Princess says, thanks, Dilys. This is a useful conversation to have. The conversation amongst women and with men should start well before perimenopause sets in. Actually, maybe same time as when menstruation conversations are had. Well, exactly. And this is why I was saying that in schools, when we're teaching about menstruation, we need to be teaching about menopause.
Right.
Why do we stop there? It's ridiculous. We are so ill prepared. But hopefully, as we continue to have these conversations, this will be a thing of the past.
And I think it's important to have those conversations, these conversations with our mothers and our mothers' mothers. Because for me, I only knew, like you, Dilys, what perimenopause was. I had to do research. I'm like, what's happening to me? I thought I was pregnant. Then I go online and I thank God for the Spirit of God, because maybe it's perimenopause. No, maybe I'm premenopausal. In fact, I was saying maybe I'm premenopausal, because I'm like, menopause starts at 55. I'm 49. So, and it's true, Petra. Yeah, for African women, it starts in their late 50s, late 40s. I had to late 40s. I had to go look in myself, and then I had to Google. But in talking to my mother, that's when I found out. And mothers, just like when a woman has a miscarriage, she would not know that her mother had a miscarriage until she herself has a miscarriage, or her aunt said, don't worry, so. Even me, when I was older, I had a miscarriage. My daughter, don't worry. My daughter, you'll be fine. Nobody talks to you. In the Western world, maybe you have resources, you have this helpline, but in Kenya, where you can find helpline, it's not going to be there. Maybe in the UK, you can find something in through your church or through the media out there, but in Kenya or Africa, where? And then sometimes they have those topics. Don't talk about menstruation. Don't talk about sex. Don't talk about menopause. You don't want to embarrass what? Me, I will talk about it, because in helping you, myself, I'm helping you. Because if I go through this, I don't want anybody to go through what I went through. So I'm going to share what I know. That's what I'm telling you guys. If you want this, you get in touch with me, whatever. Just whatever can help you ease your pain also.
Yeah.
And to make you sleep. And, because it's you don't sleep when you're going through perimenopause. You don't sleep. I used to go for days not sleeping. I lost a lot of weight. I was thin, real thin, and I was even getting embarrassed to sleep with my husband, because I'm like, now you find me not attractive, It's so emotional draining. It's matrimonial stress. It's just so much. But it's good to have that husband who understands that, embraces you physically, embraces you emotionally, embraces you matrimonially, embraces you spiritually, and prays with you and takes care of you, because at that point you cannot.
But this is where, for you, Petra, not being, African, culture plays a big role in hindering these conversations. Religion plays a big role.
I think it's more, yes, religion, especially religion as well, because there is, for people who are deeply religious, there are more taboos, especially considering what the church has done in the Middle Ages and how they are suppressing how the church as an institution has had the habit of suppressing the feminine. So it's really important to actually connect to God in our hearts and speak from that place, because sometimes religion cannot give us all of the answers.
You're absolutely right.
Yes. So it's our connection to God through our heart and speaking from that place, rather than expecting religion to guide us what to do and how to.
Because even they'll tell you as a woman, and I like that you say that, Petra, and Dilys bringing this up. They tell you as a woman, when you're going through something with your husband, don't leave your husband. Look at that lady who was killed in Nigeria, Osinachi. Remember Osinachi?
Yeah.
The one who sang it, Osinachi. Hey,
her name was oh gosh, I actually did a whole show on that.
Osinachi. I'm like, she tried to leave twice, but what the church will like, go back to your husband. When I was having problems with my husband, they said, go back to your husband, But I'm like, do you want me to die before you know that this thing is serious? And so you're right. It's good to look at even you and your God, because God told me, Judy, my daughter, stay there. Judy, my daughter, it's not menopause, it's perimenopause. And then do your diligence. Everything you're going through, have a journal. Write. What am I going through today?
That's important.
Today I ate this thing. If I eat broccoli, I will not get the acid reflux. If I eat this. I even know foods that you will eat, and because I knew what I went through when I was going through perimenopause, what to eat, what not to eat. I eat a lot of liver because obviously a lot of blood, spinach, things like that. And I need not to eat garlic or onions, like I said earlier, because it will bring me the nausea and then acid, So those are things, and even diet. Then I guess it's important too, when you're going through the perimenopause or menopause, you need to talk to a dietitian.
Diet is very important.
To a dietitian, nutritionalist, who will custom make a specialized diet for you. And then exercise. Walk. It's good for when you walk, your stress levels go down, and it brings a balance. Because when your two hormones are whack, it kind of brings a lot of imbalance. You lose your memory, you become very emotional, you cannot sleep, you lose the appetite for sex, But at the same time, your husband wants you to be sexual with him, but how will you do it? You can't do it all, and you're hurting. So it's good.
I'm single. I'm single, and I'm not a mother. So in this respect, I can't speak to going to that topic of going through perimenopause when you have a partner. What I can certainly tell is that because I've reduced, I had a period when I had to stop working. And after that, I slowly started working, and I stopped doing business jobs because my background is in business, and I was coaching part-time since 2013. And that was because I actually was afraid to do only coaching because I wasn't sure whether I will be able to manage financially. And that didn't turn out good for me because I exhausted myself from too much work. And so I'm single, and I think that if I had to go to work, I would have feel really tired. However, reducing the level of work when going through perimenopause, if I wasn't single, I'm sure that it wouldn't have had such a big impact on my relationship and the libido, because a big part of the sex drive and the desire for sex actually can come when you have the connection with a man. However, when you're tired and everything is going on and you're confused, what your body is going through, yes, that I can imagine how.
And you have to have that. You have to talk to your husband, like, baby, I don't feel like this sex thing. Because really, I'm like, you're scared. I said, they put this IUD in me. Here I am, I'm scared if you penetrate me, then you may be a beautifully endowed man. You know what I mean? You're all adults. And typically, Nigerian men tend to be,
No, Judy, what do you mean? Elaborate. No,
okay. A Nigerian man, my husband is Nigerian, if you want me to be explicit. So but you know what I mean. I was scared as a woman, but oh my God, now if he penetrates me, that thing is gonna hit my whatever and make it come out. So you have to, and then you can try different sexual, positions if that's what you're feeling. Then don't do the way you normally do, and I don't want to get explicit, but you don't do a different way that maybe you won't feel like it's really up in your.
But I think on this point, I think it would be worth mentioning, the vaginal dryness that a lot of women, complain about.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that your husband needs to be made aware of, because you don't want him thinking you're not performing. You're not getting wet because you're not turned on by him. Yeah. And this is why I'm saying that it's really important that
hormones can help. HRT can help apparently a lot for women who decide to use HRT, hormonal replacement therapy. It actually solves the vaginal dryness problem.
But the
thing is, KY jelly.
But the point I was making is, prior to even getting there, have that conversation.
It's true.
Because all that we're doing is after the fact.
And then it's important.
We're being reactive. We're not being proactive.
And then Dilys.
Have that conversation. And prior to, this can happen.
And having said that, it's very important. You see, for me, it was very important for my husband to go for the procedure with me, because I used to go for the ultrasound biopsy alone. They literally put some iodine in you to clean you up, right? It stings, yeah? So they even tell you, before you come for this, make sure you eat and take your aspirin or whatever. It was important for him to come and see when I'm going for the biopsy, for the fibroids, whatever, taking my interest. It was important for him to be there with me when they put the IUD in me, because now he'll understand what I'm going through. Because if I just say, baby, I'm in pain, he wouldn't get it. You think I'm just I don't want to have sex with him. But it's important for him to know, and then also ask those questions of the doctor. Because what I did when they sent me the medical summary, then I took, because everything is online, I'll send it, copy and paste it to his WhatsApp. Now, whatever he chose to do is he showed his friend, I don't care. But me, I know as a woman, I took my due diligence. As a woman, I shared with him everything that was going on with me personally, so that he will know. And don't ask, Judy, what's this? This is, don't ask me questions. If you don't, go and Google it, okay? Even when I was in Kenya, I said, baby, I'm going through perimenopause. Can you Google it? Don't stop telling me I slept with somebody whose baby is that. Which baby? Is it your baby? Who else? I beg, please.
And that could be very painful. Let me quickly read a couple of comments because we've got like 10 minutes left. That the person that died was Osinachi Nwachukwu.
Yeah, Osinachi. Yeah.
Yeah, I did a whole show on that actually. Charisma says, I'm 64 years and still do not understand my hormonal changes. At 42, I was admitted into hospital with fibroid problems. I refused a hysterectomy, thankfully, because I was not given enough information. I had non-invasive treatment privately. My fibroid shrunk and I have not had any issues since. These platforms are so important. Afolabi says, please let's try and not blame the man alone. Some women can be very nasty even when they are going through the menopause. But okay, let me address that statement. If they are nasty anyway, then the menopause is irrelevant. But there are some women that are absolutely lovely, but they turn into this being because of the menopause. And I think that's really important. We're not trying to validate women with poor behavior. If the behavior was poor, it either will remain the same through menopause or it will get worse. But that behavior has got nothing to do with the menopause because she was like that before. So let's be very, very, very clear on that. If you are married to a woman who is as nice as pie, and when she starts going through the menopause becomes this being, then understand that it's because of the menopause.
Yes.
And work with her and the healthcare professionals in how best you can support that woman. Like I said, my introduction into this whole world of the menopause came about because there was a woman that, one of my staff actually, that I was having a conversation and she was like, I could basically kill my husband. And I was like, what's going on? And she was like, I'm going through the menopause and I just feel like all the time. Now, clearly that's not how she is normally, in which case a husband needs to realize that there's something going on with my wife. And this symptom is a symptom. It's not the cause. The menopause is the cause. A symptom of the menopause are the mood swings. So you've got to know the depression, the anxiety, the aggression. You've got to know how to deal with that. But information and knowledge of these things,
sadness,
is what, but exactly my point, Afolabi. So if they were nasty before the menopause, then the menopause is not your issue. The issue is the attitude of your wife, in which case y'all need to deal with that. Got nothing to do with the menopause. So let's make that distinction. Evan says, oh my goodness, Judy, please, what about those ladies who ain't married to the Ogas? Well, you know what? When I have problem, Tasha says, Judy is cracking me up. She's cracking me up too. Judy, you are absolutely right. Tasha's laughing. Lynette says, I've raised a boy child on my own, and I mean on my own. Thankfully, I managed to have those needed and meaningful conversations, even convos when I was a woman. As I wasn't feeling good, I would admit to my son how I'm feeling if necessary. As a result, he fairly understanding of women. That's a really good point. We don't need to mollycoddle, or like, for example, because you have a son, you're not going to say, oh, I've got period pain. Tell him you've got period pains. Can you boil the kettle and get me a hot water bottle? So that when he's with his significant other at some point, it's not alien to him, that he has an understanding. What time is it? 53. Okay, we've got like 7 minutes. Let me just see what other comments I can get in there. Princess said, we don't talk, period. Grateful for platforms like this. Thank you so much. Princess said, we also, Patience is laughing about something. I don't remember what it is. Speak to more.
That's me. Oh,
okay.
My ministry handle.
Oh, okay. Princess says, thanks, Dilys, use conversation. I think I've read that. So let me see what else is there. Tasha says, so true. So we've got about 6 minutes. So I'm gonna, before I round up, I'm gonna give you, Judy, 2 minutes to give us your final thoughts on this topic and what you would like to be our takeaway for the evening.
Okay. I'm gonna say what I said earlier. If you courted this woman and you loved her before you married her, you found her so attractive and you could not stop talking about her, you did all these things for her, you promised her heaven on earth or whatever, please do not stop. But also continue to journal when your body is going through something, because you're going to go through so many things. Just journal. Ask questions when you go to your doctor. If you don't agree with anything, don't agree. Me, I told them, look, you're not going to remove my uterus. I refuse. If you feel uneasy about a procedure your doctor tells you, don't go through with it. But also do your due diligence, do your research, keep your your spouse informed of what's going on, and know that you're a beautiful, endowed woman, you're a beautiful, endowed man, and that this thing too shall come to pass. If you need any help, hit me up. I'm on Facebook. There's my handle. I'm on WhatsApp. Just Dilys can give you my contacts, but please, please, please don't know that this too will come to pass. It is well. God bless you all.
Thank you, Judy. Petra.
So what was the prompt again, Dilys?
Oh, just what are your final thoughts? What would you like to leave the viewers with this evening?
Okay, so I suppose because I'm single, to all the single ladies who are going through this, I would say don't delay having fun and living life fully, because when the perimenopause comes, then it's time for a phase transition to another phase in life. So that's my message for now. And I'm still during the period of the perimenopause, but I think after that there is something else coming, which is beautiful. And according to the Native American tradition, apparently women are considered wise women after their period stops, and only then they are allowed to become shamans and spiritual teachers. So there is beauty in this as well. For me, it's a journey, and it's just a phase of life, like a phase transition.
I love that. I think that's really beautiful. It's really, I love that so much, because like I said, society tells women that even after 30, they are of no relevance.
Yes.
And it's normally the Western society that has that very heavily on canceling people or canceling women.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
you know, it's very, very sad. So it's really nice, you know, to finish this with that thought that actually the older you get, the more relevant you are, as opposed to the older you get, the less significance
You are.
or, you know, less significant you are.
Mm-hmm.
I think for Evans and Dilys, please sing for us the Whitney Houston song to calm us down. You're not serious. Oh gosh. I can't sing any Whitney Houston track that the words kind of fit this really.
Which song?
I don't know. They just want me to sing because so basically I was made a patron of a school called Fountain of Youth International School, and I did a launch there, Delicious Goods and Services. So I started this new company that anybody who is in Ghana or Nigeria, what we offer is a bespoke shopping service. So if there's anything that you want from the UK or the US, it could be car parts to drinks to a pair of knickers from Marks and Spencer, whatever it is you need, you tell us, we will have it bought, packaged and shipped to your door. Or if you do the shopping yourself, you come to us, we will handle everything for you and we'll have it shipped to your door for you. So we are encouraging people that want stuff for Christmas to get in touch so that you can get your nice drinks and your nice shortbread biscuits and whatever it is that you want from here. So that's Delicious Goods and Services. You can inbox me or you can look for us on Facebook. So we did a partnership. We formed a partnership to do a really lovely fun fair. And with the children, I sang The Greatest Love of All. You'll see it.
The greatest love of all is happening to me.
It was so lovely. The kids were absolutely phenomenal. They did a great job. So I think that's why Evans is saying, "Oh, can you sing a Whitney Houston track to calm us down?" Think of something really quickly. You've got a minute. But what I would like to say is that I'll take a different angle on this. And what it is this is why it's so important that as people, we need to take our position.
Yes.
Don't take someone else's position. Don't covet someone else. Take your position. Because what you bring is unique to you and only you can deliver you. Nobody can do what I do. No one can do what Judy does or what Petra does. They are unique, special people with a special assignment. I have mine. And by following what it is that I am called to do is why this is possible. I am not more special than anyone. I'm just different. So I think that, if we take the positions that we're supposed to take and answer to the call upon our lives individually, only then will we be effective in supporting and embracing people to help them to heal. I did a talk for one of the local authorities on Friday, and I was saying that as human beings, we are not created for trauma. We are not created for sadness. We are not created for happiness. We are created for love, and we are created to live life to its fullest. And so for that reason, we are to take our position so that people who are not living their best life, we are able to help them live it. That's what this platform is for. So I just want to thank both Judy and Petra for being, amazing guests on this show. And I'm so glad that this show has evolved to where I am having guests on here. Thank you for sharing your individual journeys. Thank you for the advice. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your spirit. You are very much appreciated, and you are blessed women. I do hope that we get the opportunity to have a conversation. It may be on fibroids. Who knows? Go do your research, ladies, and come and educate us. Educate me, because it's not something that I have, suffered with. But, you are such a blessing to everybody that is watching. The comments have been amazing. I'm blessed to have you. Thank you very much for giving us your time. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Dilys, for hosting the conversation.
Do this again. Honor, what an honor.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I'll
you.
something to sing, but time is up now. So who was it? Was it Evan? You'll have to join next week and see. I'm not sure what the topic is going to be next week, but it will definitely be something interesting. Thank you so much. As I said, my new business, Delicious Goods and Services, you can hit me up on Facebook and let me know what you need. We are here to serve the people. Let me just quickly read the last few comments. Patience says, I've really enjoyed this. God bless you. Thanks, Dilys, as usual. Well done for bringing this together. Thank you so much. Princess Finney, thank you for all the lovely emojis, and Lynette as well. Princess and Tasha says, good night, everyone. God bless us all. Amen to that. And Anita says, well done for an informative program, ladies. Lucy, how are you doing? Bless you too, my darling. Afolabi says he loves both guests. Thank you. So do I. Guys, have a wonderful evening. Be good. I shall see you same time next week. Please do share. If you've enjoyed the content, please do send some stars to help support. Lucy said, just came on. Wish I had been there from the beginning. Have plenty to share on premenopausal. Sweetheart, please put your comments in the comments box. Watch the replay and just keep sharing. Let's keep getting this message out there. And the takeaway, again, let's start to force our employers to put the necessary measures in place. If we have to, write up petitions and what have you, let's do that. And on that note, God bless you all.
Good night.
Thank you for watching, and I love you. Take care, guys. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you, Dilys. Thank you,
Thank
Petra.
you. Ladies, hold on.
Oh.